Hello everyone. So my name is Mathias. I'm a customer engineer here at Google Cloud, and I specialize in Generative application in FinTech. So I work with my colleague Craig, all the way up there, and we work with a lot of FinTech startups and Series A, Series B, me especially in Generative, but in every possible way to navigate Google Cloud, to build project, build solution on Google Cloud. And today I want to speak about three main things. The first is Generative in FinTech. So what I see as the more common use cases that our FinTech clients are doing. You will see a lot of similarity with what Multiply is doing. Second is Vertex AI. Vertex AI is our end-to-end platform in Google Cloud. And I want to show you how easy it is to get started, to actually start implementing the use cases I talked about in the part before. And finally, as Vivek mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about models, every models that are available, especially our model of obviously Gemini models. And I will finish with a couple demo to show you how powerful these models have become. So the first thing I want to talk about is the enormous amount of potential use cases there is, not only for FinTech, but for every single companies. Here I selected four, the one in bold, that are the one that I see kind of the most being used in FinTech. So if you look at the first one, the customer service modernization, for example, this is the classic kind of GenAI use case that is being developed by not only FinTech, but every single field. And in FinTech in particular, you can imagine that it is a bit complicated to build, like for example, a chatbot, because when it comes to give like financial advice and things like that, maybe we are still not trusting what the AI could be giving. So that's why I like to see like a journey for my customer on service modernization, first as an improvement of their operational teams. So let's imagine like some kind of Google search engine with their enterprise data to help their operational team. So this is very similar to the RAG application Vivek mentioned. Basically, you have your RAG created, trained on your enterprise data, and then you can actually query it with natural language, and you get a nice summary in also natural language that can help you answer a customer email, find a relevant document, and so on. The next step, once you get familiar with it, it is all about steps, all about like trying. Once you get familiar with the Generative, you're happy, like the internal, because this is an internal project, the internal RAG is working, the LLM is not hallucinating, is giving proper result, then is the next step. You can maybe start building a chatbot. Why not? And instead of giving advice, financial advice, maybe you can stick to like a Q&A for now, and then start building confidence. That's how you should be doing, because Generative AI has been going on for years, but Generative is still fairly recent and is good for everyone to get used to it. So that's why I like this step-by-step approach when it comes to building project. The second one, which is, from my point of view, the most relevant to finance, is the transcription, summarization, translation, extraction. So this, again, is similar to what Vivek and Multiply are doing, is like, for example, document processing. So you can imagine a bank that is going through a proof of address, like for every new customer. This is a very lengthy process. I have an example in mind where like we managed to take a 48-hour process, so checking the proof of address, sending back an email, and so on, to less than 1 hour, less than 10 minutes, sorry, because everything was automated. So this is one document AI. I have a very cool also project at the moment where we are doing fuzzy matching with LLMs. So fuzzy matching, if you don't know, is like checking if two names are similar. So is Robert Smith the same guy as Rob Smith, for example? So there is a lot of things online to do fuzzy matching, even like mathematical equation and stuff like this. But we had an idea, like why not use LLM? Because they are very good at checking natural language. And it ended up being amazing, like giving amazing result. And I had a little, I was not sure. I was like, okay, Robert, very easy. Let's try some Pakistani name. Let's try some Chinese name. Let's try some Spanish name with like, we have like three different names in the same. it works every time because of the massive amount of data is trained on. It was cheaper and faster and better solution than what's out there for fuzzy matching. So this is a great example. It's not the type of use case you see online, because this is something we discussed with my customer and we decided to try it. But as you can see, everything that is natural language based, you can imagine having an LLM helping you resolving it. The third one actually is my favorite. I used to work in finance before, 2017 something, and I remember like a new compliance regulation thing, MiFID II, I think it's called, something massive. And I remember our engineer team switching the full dev cycle, all the new feature back 1 year, because we had 1 year of development just to get to MiFID II compliant. So 1 full year almost of new feature gone because we had to focus on MiFID II. Now imagine if you had like some kind of bot, an assistant, you can give it like the 200 pages of like the new compliant, and you ask question. You're like, what point should I be focusing on? If it's an update, what is the difference between MiFID II and I don't know if there is a MiFID I, but like, what's the difference between the two? You could ask, you could send, you could give it your code base, the compliance document, and say, what should I change in the code to be compliant? So again, this is, and I think for financial institution is extremely relevant because it can save a lot of time. And I remember losing 1 year of new feature. If at the time we had this possibility, it would have been amazing. And lastly, I never want to finish this example without the fraud. Obviously, it's the proper financial use case. And you can think like fraud detection is not generative AI. It's proper predictive AI, machine learning, nothing to do with generative AI. And it's good to remember that generative AI is not the same thing as machine learning, but it's not replacing it. It can be used in addition to it. And for fraud detection, for example, all my customers are doing fraud detection the classic way. So machine learning, we train the model with a lot of transaction. But now we were thinking maybe we can have we can add some generative AI element to it. So imagine your machine learning model that is training from normal data, and you have maybe in your transaction a massive chunk of text explaining the transaction or explaining the vendors, what the vendor is doing. You could ask question to LLM to fill from unstructured data, from text, a new field that you could be using for predictive AI. So let's say, is this company, does this company look weird to you? Or like, you could ask question like this, have a yes or no, and then train the model on this new added data. So again, think about not just using Gen AI, but using it as a complement of predictive AI. So now that you have a lot of good ideas, I will show you a little bit how to get started on Google if you want to build something similar in Google. This is what the Gen AI workflow look like on Google Cloud. So Vertex AI is our end-to-end platform. It's used to do Gen AI application, but also machine learning application. And today I just want to focus on the agent builder and the model garden. So the agent builder is kind of our out-of-the-box tools, great to do POCs, to understand if your use case is viable. And the model garden, as Vivek mentioned, I want to discuss a little bit about all the different models that are out there. So if I go to the Vertex AI agent builder, you can see a lot of different things to do. So the first thing is out-of-the-box custom agent. So this is what I mentioned before. If you want to create some kind of search engine with your enterprise data, if you want to create an agent, a chatbot, you can basically do it in a couple clicks in there. You just need the data, create a data store, and then you just can create a search engine or a chatbot in a couple of clicks. You also have in the same stack, you have document AI processors. So this is what I mentioned, where you can basically create and train a model to understand your document and from unstructured data, get structured data, which is the best thing you can do if you want to process data at scale, do some analytics, and so on. So this is what the document AI portfolio look like. So you have general pre-trained processor. So this is great if you have like some, in your company, for example, you have forms that are filled by your clients manually. Sometimes it's difficult to read. You can imagine that you will need a human to read it. But now it's very, very easy to do it with AI. So this is all the pre-trained one. If you have some complex documents that are like with a weird layout, with some graphs and so on, you can start building and training your own processor. And we make it very easy to do it via the custom processors. And then we also have some pre-trained processor for like the common use cases like bank statement. I think we have French ID card. We have a lot of things like this that are pre-trained that you can use out of the box as well. So this, you have to imagine, is a part of a solution. You have the whole AI is kind of done for you, but you have to then integrate it in your solution. Think about it's the good thing with this out-of-the-box solution is that they are enterprise ready. So even though we are talking LLM, even though we are talking generative AI, all of the filtering, the everything has been done for you by Google, basically. The second part is the agent builder. So this is the one that is getting the most, I guess, love in my customer, because it's very easy to implement. Again, in a couple of clicks. So what can you do with Agent Builder? You can create, launch, and manage agents. So an agent is just, imagine a human agent that you train with natural language. You can imagine the same with this solution. You give some English instruction, and it will follow it. So this is agent. You can create a chatbot the traditional way with some actual codes, or you can build, my favorite, a search engine with your data. And now, the more this is getting almost 2 years old already, and we keep adding new features that are very interesting. So for example, my favorite is the grounding with Google search. So grounding is to make sure your LLM answers are not hallucinating. Is not hallucinating, is grounded in truth. So he's generating something, and then he checks in the grounding data if what he's saying is not wrong. And grounding with Google search basically is just a box that you tick, and then it's going to look at on Google search to understand if what he's saying is actually correct. So this is an amazing, very easy tool to use just to make sure your LLM is not hallucinating. Then you can ground with your enterprise data as well, as I mentioned before, and so on. And finally, you can take action. So Vivek mentioned it. We have the function calling, which allow you to, based on the intent of the user, calling the LLM, you can basically tell it, the LLM to send an email or book a flight or whatever. This is made very easy on Google Cloud. So that's the two kind of main out-of-the-box solution I like to talk about. We have many more. You can also build a full stack, but I think it's like a 1 hour presentation, not 20. So happy to discuss after. I think we have a Q&A, so happy to take any question later. And now, models. So on Google Cloud, if you remember, at the bottom of the stack, there were Model Garden. Model Garden is basically our way to deploy all the Google models, so all the Gemini, Palm model, Imagen, which is to create image, Cody to create code. All of this can be deployed in one click. Google task specific. So you have Doc AI, which I just mentioned before, that you can call via the API. You can create speech from text, so a lot of specific model. Domain specific, so this is not relevant for this audience, I think, but basically we have an LLM that has been trained on medical data. We have an LLM that has been trained on cybersecurity data. So you can imagine if you were in this field, you could have a very, very specific LLM to answer your complex questions. And finally, we have obviously all the open source models. There is 100 of them that are available to deploy in one click. So we have the last Llama model. We also partner with Anthropic, for example. So we have the last, I think last week we announced the last Opus 3.5 or Sonnet 3.5, which is arguably the best model right now. We have, I don't know if there is developers in the audience, but like we have integration with Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is the main place to find all the model. So again, in one click, you can try and deploy a model. So why do we propose all this model? Why don't we just show the Gemini one, which are also arguably the best from my opinion. That's because there is a best model for like one model for one task. So LLMs, as Vivek mentioned, are very good at complex tasks, at not very specific tasks, but they are good generally for any type of question, any type of task. But when you start getting a bit deeper, a bit specific, one LLM might become better than the other one. So there is no rules. I know maybe you wanted me to bring you a rule and say, oh, if you have this use case, you should use this. Genera is still new, quite recent. Everything about Genera is about trying. So you have a specific use case, a complex prompt, you send it to Gemini, and you check the result. Then you send it to Claude, you check the result. You send it to Llama, you check the result. Mistral, the French one, you should try. Very good. You have to try. It's all about testing and investigating the result. And this, I want to finish with the Gemini model. So these are our three main models right now, which, again, like as mentioned, there is one model for different tasks. So for example, Gemini 1 Pro is the cheapest one, but we have added the supervised tuning capabilities. So supervised tuning, imagine you have a massive amount of data to train the LLM. You want it to be better at your specific task. So you give it a little bit more data, your use cases, and it will change a little bit the last, if you're familiar with the way it works, the last basically layer of the LLM will be changed, specific to you, and it will be better at your specific use case. 1.5 Flash, which is our latest one, faster, better, I think is the best overall. So if you have, it's always good to start with this one, but it's great at everything. And 1.5 Pro, which is amazing for one reason, is the new 2 million context window, which I will demonstrate in 1 second. Basically 2 million context window, you can imagine sending it 2 hours movie and ask a question at a very specific timestamp, and it will be available in maybe a minute or so to find the relevant information. So super impressive. So now the demo. I have 2 demos, and usually, as we said in the demos, there is 50% chance it's failing. So let's try to have one working today. So this is the Google Cloud interface, and I want to query Gemini 1.5 Flash. So you can see it on the top right here. So I found a novel online, the Dracula novel, original. I took this one because it opens, no problem with copyright and everything. But you can imagine, you can see on the bottom right here, 200,000 tokens, which is, one token is about 4 letters. So it's pretty FT. I can maybe show you if I have it here. There's a thing that I should not be showing, but so yeah, like this is the amount of text I'm throwing at him. You know, there is 15,000 lines. So now I'm telling him, read through the text above and find a character that does not belong in the Dracula novel. What is this character doing? So it should take about 20 seconds. I have also a third one with a video, but it takes usually a minute to run, and I'm short in time, so I can show you. Oh, the character that does not belong in the Dracula novel is Mathias Canales. This is because Mathias Canales is not a character from the... So you imagine 15,000 line. I obviously inputted my name in the middle, but in like how long? It doesn't show, but like in less than 20 seconds, he went through all the thing. He understood that one character was not in the novel. This, if you take this and you put like a compliant document, like the one I was mentioning before, you can imagine how good it will be to discover the kind of information you need. The second one is the one that is the most likely to fail, but is also the most impressive. So I talked a lot about finding information, but obviously they are very good at generating information. So do you know, like when you don't have internet on your phone and you go on Google Chrome and you have a nice little game, the Dino game, right? So fun fact, it's been created by a French guy in Google. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to reproduce it. It's in my blood. I should be able to do it. So here is my prompt. So it's also a good indication of how to properly prompt Gemini, because you should be prompting LLM differently. Like Gemini understood better this type of prompting, for example. So first, I set the scene. I set what he is. So I say, you are an expert game developer, and I want you to create this game. Then I give it a list of tasks. So I'm like, there is a dinosaur in the middle of the screen. There is obstacle continuously coming from the right side. The player can jump with the spacebar, and the score is increasing over time. And the third part is the type of output I want. So here I just want a Python file. So here it's extremely fast. 4 seconds. You explain a lot of things. So let's try that now. Here I have a nice little IDE ready. So I'm putting the code. Let's hope. Here we go. Okay, it's working. Like you have the cactus that are flowing. The game is stopping when I touch one. I think, I can make it fly as well. But yeah, so now I want you to imagine this is one prompt. So you can use Gemini as a chat interface. So you could say, look, the dinosaur is flying. Can you change that? And then iterate on top of this. So if you have a lot of time, like I just had one prompt, or if you want to something very precise, something very accurate, something very good, you can imagine how good an LLM can be at helping your developer, for example, with their job. And I just want to finish with the Gemini API, which is available for everyone to try. So if you go to the Google AI Studio, you don't need to have a Google Cloud account to use Gemini. You can actually use it on the Google AI Studio. So everything that I showed now, you can actually go and try. I think the 2 million token window is now available online as well. So I welcome you to go and try. Thank you.